Hey 12s, it's the Seahawks Squad, sponsored by Gametime. Everything Seattle Seahawks every week, breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Emerald City, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get loud, 12s. The Seahawks Squad Show starts now.
Welcome into the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hurst, Chris Crawford, Rob Rang with you today. We're going to do a really fun exercise today. I've been waiting to do this for a long time because we've had preseason games to break down. We've had stuff to react to. We've had certain roster decisions to do, which is what we did on Tuesday. The biggest one that I've been waiting for, and I was waiting for Chris Crawford to join for this specific episode because it's a Nostradam Chris episode. We're going to do our full season predictions for the entire 2025/26, I guess, Seahawks season. We'll go through the full schedule. All three of us will let you know if we think it's a win or a loss as the rosters are constructed as of right now. We'll have some fun with it, kind of see what the Seahawks record looks like. And then just at the very end, we'll do kind of predictions for the other divisions in the NFL as well. But welcome into the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hurst. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Okay, gentlemen, I think we should just get to this right away. I probably should have had this up instantly, but let me just go through the Seahawks schedule here on the old Google machine. I knew week 1 was against the 49ers, but I guess before we get started, the biggest news of the NFL day is Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. Yeah. Initial thoughts before we jump into this. Chris, I'll start with you.
I mean, I think there are some NFL teams that are kind of like, maybe we could have done that, but now a lot of this is partially based on the fact that Micah Parsons has to want to sign with the team that he's going to, right? And I could see him being intrigued by going to play in Green Bay, a chance to go after those quarterbacks there, a team that is pretty sustainable in their winning. They've been pretty darn good. I believe like a 634 winning percentage since 2019. Having said that, I think that there are some teams that are going to be like, man, we really missed on an opportunity here because we would have pretty easily done this. I saw a bunch of people giving this grades of suggesting like a C+, a C around there for the Cowboys. I think that's probably fair. Like when you get players like Micah Parsons, you should do everything you can to hold on. And unless he just flat out said, I never want to be a Dallas Cowboy, which is not what happened, this is a pretty big mistake by Dallas and a huge pickup for Green Bay.
Rob, should the Seahawks have done the same thing?
I don't think that they should have. And the reason why that I do not believe that the Seahawks should have given up multiple first-round picks and a quality player is actually not about the multiple first-round picks and the quality player. It's about the salary cap. It's about just the idea of investing that amount of money in a player that is not one of your own. And so therefore, there is the potential for that to be a mistake. And John Schneider has kind of talked about this specifically. Then he didn't specify whether this was about Percy Harvin or whether this was about Jamal Adams or who it was about. But he definitely has referenced the fact that, one of the mistakes, and I'm paraphrasing one of his quotes, but that he definitely felt that it was a mistake to award a player that was not part of their initial team with the biggest contract on the team. And then I think that there was just probably some fallout for the guys who are currently, already in the locker room. Like, what the heck? We've been, bleeding out here for you, and you're going to reward this guy. And so Micah Parsons is an unbelievable player. I definitely understand from that perspective. I think that the Dallas Cowboys are basically getting nickels in the dollar because the Green Bay Packers, even without Micah Parsons, you're talking about a draft pick that was likely going to be 22, 25, 30 overall. So it was going to be a late first round pick already. And now I think that the Green Bay Packers are right there at the Philadelphia Eagles to be the favorite in the NFC. And so I think you're going to get late first round picks. Kenny Clark is he's a very good player. He's not a Hall of Fame caliber player. I think Micah Parsons can be that. And Micah Parsons is still in the prime of his career, whereas Kenny Clark, with all due respect, is kind of in the later stages of his career. So I think if the Seahawks were to have been able to just basically match the 2 first-round picks and a quality player for Micah Parsons, that part I get, and that part I would be fully behind. But again, the investing that type of money in a player that, going back to his Penn State days, guys, this is a very strong personality. You better make sure that you like the player. And the reality is that you make the move for DeMarcus Lawrence, and DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons immediately had their little social media beefs. That suggests to me that it wasn't always great between them. And then if Adam Durde would have really pushed for this, I think that the Seahawks would have been players. I mean, there's no way that the Green Bay Packers made this move and John Schneider didn't know about it. So I think that that to me, I applaud the Green Bay Packers for having the guts to go for it. At the same time, I also think this could be Jamal Adams part 2. This could be Khalil Mack part 3, or however you want to say it. That this could be a mistake by the Green Bay Packers by pushing all their chips into the table. And we'll see if it winds up paying off. I will say this, though. I am fascinated because the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers are going to play in about a month. And I would not be surprised at all if Micah Parsons is extra motivated for that game. Dak Prescott better watch himself. But I'm curious to see if Micah Parsons plays as consistently as his talent, if he is as good as his talent suggests that he can, because that has always been one of my concerns about Micah Parsons is he is as up and down as a Richter scale. And that just can't happen for a guy who is now the highest paid player of all time that's a non-quarterback.
Wow.
Real quick, Anders, the other thing I was thinking about with this deal and the reason why it may have been tough for Seattle is that player equivalent, because you're not going to move Leonard Williams in that trade. That'd be taking a step back to take a step forward, or a step forward to take a step back. It doesn't really improve you that much. Byron Murphy is a more valuable player, I think, than Kenny Clark is at this stage. Maybe if they had interest in Jaron Reed, but it would be really tough to move a player like that. So if they didn't have any interest, Dallas didn't have any interest in a Boye Mafe, if they didn't have any interest in a Derek Hall, that makes it a little bit tougher. But I'm a little surprised that another team wasn't willing to go 2 firsts and a second plus a really good player, because Micah Parsons, when he is on the field, and it's on the field a lot, he is a special football player. So we'll be very curious to see. Hope we don't see Micah Parsons play against the Seahawks too often.
Yeah, I was pretty high on the Packers before this move happened.
Sure.
Even before the trade, I've been on record saying I think they're the best team in the NFC North, better than the Lions. They're better than the Vikings. I think they're the most complete team. They dominate the line of scrimmage. And this just tells me that they believe that they are there too. They went with the all-in move that they think this is their time. And I think this, and we had a couple questions on the comments. I think this does shift the kind of hierarchy, so to speak, of the NFC. I think it was pretty wide open. Maybe Eagles in a tier above everyone else, but then everyone else was kind of just shuffling for position. I think the Packers have now joined the Philadelphia Eagles on that tier to themselves in the NFC. So it's going to I'm not saying that's how it's going to end up. We'll see in our predictions here in a second. But that it's going to take someone to knock them off the ledge for there to be any shift, in my view, for what's going to happen in terms of the hierarchy of the NFC.
Real quick, taking a look at FanDuel right now, Green Bay is now second for NFC Championship winner odds now. Philadelphia is plus 370, Green Bay Packers plus 600, Detroit Lions plus 650. So the betting market is already making a move from this Parsons trade.
And although, I love Micah Parsons, I wanted the Seahawks to make this move. I would have been happy if the Seahawks had made this move. But there is an argument to be said. I just said one of the strengths of Green Bay is that they dominate the line of scrimmage. One of the big parts of that was Kenny Clark. So maybe that's a step back in that direction. So we'll see if that ends up, maybe a trade-off is obviously good enough. If you're getting a, 15 plus sack guy, obviously that'd be great. But it kind of goes to show you, okay, if you're really going to do this, you got to make sure it works. So I know we're a little bit longer on that topic than I wanted to, but I think it's the biggest news of the day. So I wanted to chat about it. So Let's start the season with our season predictions here. We got 49ers, Seahawks, week 1. We're just going to go through each and every game. All three of us are going to let you know what we have in terms of win or loss. Then we'll kind of check in with our records at the very end, see what the Seahawks look like, if that's good enough to win the division / go to the playoffs. And then we'll compare our other division winners and maybe throw in a Super Bowl champion prediction in there as well. You guys good for that?
Sounds great.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Week 1, Niners, Seahawks at Lumen Field. Chris Crawford, what do you got?
This is a tough one. And I really wish they were opening with almost literally any other opponent than the 49ers. I think something Rob and I talked about when you were being lazy and I had to host for you, you big lazy boy, was our concern about how Charles Cross is going to do against those defensive ends, right? How is he going to handle that pass rush? That's my number one concern. And it's going to be, you can talk about the new mentality, you can talk about all this and that, until I see the Seahawks freaking block somebody in an NFL game, I'm going to have concerns. I'm still going to go Seahawks. If this game was in Green Bay, if it was in Green Bay, that'd be really weird. Neutral game, not early in the year. I'm going to go Seahawks, but it's going to be a really close one. I'll go like 21-20, something that's really going to make our blood boil for a little bit. But I do think the Seahawks pull it out because it's at home.
Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think the Seahawks are ultimately going to win this football game. I think they're the better, more complete team. I think that the 49ers still have an awful lot of star power. I was in Santa Clara to watch the 49ers practice as well as have a preseason game against the Denver Broncos. Brock Purdy didn't play in the preseason game. He played in the joint practice, and he was dynamite. Yeah. And I didn't necessarily expect that. Look, I think that Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. He showed signs of being great in the joint practice. And for anybody who's neutral just watching him, he throws with such accuracy and anticipation that I really do think that he is, at least at this point, the best quarterback in the NFC West. And of course, he was the last pick, just a couple of years ago. So I struggle to say that. I mean, you're talking about a division in which you have Kyler Murray, number 1 overall, Matthew Stafford, number 1 overall, Sam Darnold, number 4 or 5 overall. But at the same time, I just think that he is a dynamic player. As Chris just mentioned, with Nick Bosa, certainly, Mykel Williams, their first round pick, is an absolute dominating kind of a presence. And so he is going to be very effective. Fred Warner is terrific. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey. That's the one that I think is actually going to keep the Seahawks up at night a little bit. Do they have somebody who's going to be able to cover Christian McCaffrey? At the same time, I still think that I think the Seattle is going to be able to run the football effectively. I do believe in Sam Darnold. I do believe in Lumen Field and the 12s being loud and proud. I just think that this is a damn good football team, and the Seahawks are going to have a very successful season. So I think if they win the game, I think, as Chris said, it's going to be close, but I do feel confident that Seattle is going to emerge from week 1 with the victory.
I also got them 1-0. I think the Seahawks are significantly better than the 49ers. I foresee a major drop-off with San Francisco, as in, what's going to happen? Do we have to sell off some pieces? Although, the only thing that scares me is the fact that this is the first game of the season. Everyone's 0-0. If you put this game a month or a month and a half into the season and San Francisco's, 2-4 coming into that, and they're already having warning signs coming with a couple injuries thrown in there because they have an aging roster, I definitely would have felt even more confident. So the fact that they basically have everyone ready to go besides maybe a Brandon Ayuk is the only kind of thing that would change that. That's the only thing that kind of scares me, but I still think that because this is at Lumen Field and the Seahawks are eager to kind of prove that they're in this new era, they win this one. Let's go to the first couple games rapid fire here as we're kind of before we hit the first break. Steelers week 2 in Pittsburgh. Not return because you're going there, but the match against one DK Metcalf. Chris Crawford, who do you got in this one?
I think that they lose this one. I'm always just hesitant of betting on the Seahawks on the road that far away. I know they've proven that they can get it done. There is You can tell I'm old because that was a huge issue under Mike Holmgren. God love him, but they had some real issues on those 10 a.m. games. So I'll go there, and I'll just say right now, if they lose to the Saints at home, God help us all.
That's a great, let's do those two games in Pittsburgh and then home against New Orleans. Rob.
Yeah, before the Steelers signed Aaron Rodgers, Corbin and I did a very similar exercise here, gentlemen, and I have this as a victory, an easy victory, frankly, even with Pittsburgh's defense. But at the same time, now with Aaron Rodgers, it does give me some hesitance. Hesitancy, I guess I should say. The Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf storyline to me is one of the most fascinating ones. That said, again, I still think that the Seahawks are just a better team overall. And so I'm going to go with the victory, not only against Pittsburgh, but I think they come back at home against New Orleans and absolutely roll. And so, again, I have the Seahawks starting off the season 3-0, and I can just feel the excitement because then we're going to be talking about late September, early October. Mariners fans are hopefully, knock on wood, going to be super excited. Seahawks fans are going to be super excited. Seattle's going to be a fun place to be, in about a month from now.
Oh, I like that. Rob going 3-0 to start. I also have them it's going to be a very close game, I think, against Pittsburgh. I think, weirdly, I'm not a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, but I think the Aaron Rodgers DK Metcalf is going to work really well. I honestly do. Both those guys have a ton to prove. And I think that I don't know why. I just get this weird feeling that they're going to really kind of vibe and like each other a lot. So I see an Aaron Rodgers late comeback in that situation. Not the Seahawks get played off the field or anything like that. So I have 2-1. Chris has 2-1. Rob has 3-0. We'll come back with the Cardinals, Buccaneers, Jaguars, Texans, and Commanders on the other side of the break here on the Seahawks Squad Show on Locked On Seahawks. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're all ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer.
Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel's so awesome because you can build same-game parlays, or you can jump in when the action is unfolding. If you see something happening, you feel like the momentum's changing, you can jump in. It's easy to use, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays.
So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Welcome back to the Seahawks Squad Show. We're doing our going through the whole schedule exercise. I'm sure a lot of people have done this already, but it was, I think, more when the schedule first came out, and a lot of the rosters have changed since then.
Oh, yeah.
So I think trying to do this as close to the season, I've been waiting to do this. We have Nostradamus Chris with us to kind of tell us exactly what's going to happen. I promise I won't just predict what he's going to predict, so we'll have some variety here. Rob Rang has it at 3-0 after the first 3 weeks of the season against the Niners, the Steelers, and the Saints. Chris and I have 2-1, both with a loss away to Pittsburgh. That means week 4, you come back. You go back on the road to Arizona. I think this is going to be a battle of 2-1 teams, to be honest. I think the Cardinals early in the season are going to vie to kind of be that next team with the Seahawks, as I think both the Rams and the Niners are going to take steps back this year. What do you guys got in Arizona in week 4? Rob, I'll start with you. Thank you for changing your name, Chris.
You're welcome.
I think the Seahawks continue to roll. Glendale has been a place of horrors at times for the Seahawks when it comes to injuries. So this is a spooky game. I am a believer in what Jonathan Gann, as head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, is building there. I just think that Seattle is a better all-around team. And so I have the Seahawks starting off 4-0. Again, with important victories on the road as well as at home against divisional opponents.
Chris?
So here's what I'll just tell you for this game. It won't be normal. There's never been a Thursday night game between the Seahawks and the Cardinals that hasn't been either one of the worst football games ever played or something absolutely bonkers. And the Seahawks will either win 58-0 or they'll win 3-2. One of those two things are happening. But I do think they do get their first road victory of the year.
I also do think they win this game. I think they kind of stamp their kind of way of we're the team to beat in the NFC West at this point in the season. So I have 3-1. Chris has 3-1. Rob has 4-0. Did they lose week 5 against the Buccaneers at home? Rob, it's a big test. What do you think?
It is a big test, and I'm tempted to notch that first loss of the season. That said, I think that Lumen Field is going to be a legitimate, home field advantage again. I look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and again, they are a squad that I like what they have. But when it's all said and done, I just believe in Sam Darnold more than I believe in Baker Mayfield. So I do think that Tampa Bay is a quality team, that they are very much going to be in the running for the NFC South crown. All the more reason why a victory at home against them is that much more important. And so that's why I have the Seahawks doing is 5-0 at this point.
5-0. Let's go. Nostradamus, what do you think?
I think they're only losing one game at home, and I think it's going to be this one. My concern about this game is how they're going to handle those big wide receivers, right? How are they going to be able to handle? Now, they have some health issues to be sure, but I kind of worry about, I can picture in my head Josh Jobe being posted up by Mike Evans in the end zone 2 or 3 times. It's just something that is kind of Nostradamus doesn't like seeing it, but Nostradamus kind of sees it a little bit. They're going to be really good at home this year. I think this is the year where home field advantage comes back. But this will be a very close loss to I think a pretty solid Tampa Bay team.
The only reason I'm going with a win is because that's the throwback uniform day where the Tampa wear their creamsicles and the Seahawks wear their throwbacks.
Okay.
Seahawks have much better jerseys. So
I'm sorry to talk over you. I do it too often, but I'm going to do it again. Go in a tie.
Really? Is that your official prediction? Okay.
Nostradamus is predicting a tie between those two jerseys, and he's really happy about it.
Okay. I am going with the Seahawks win because I think those Seahawks throwbacks are miles better than the creamsicle Tampa Bay jerseys.
Than squirrel turds.
It's true. It's very, very true. Those things are gross. Anyways, so I got 4-1. Chris has 3-1-1, I guess. And then Rob is 5-0 still. All right. I'm going to keep going to Rob first until he gives us his first loss this season. Maybe the Seahawks go 17-0. We'll see. Jaguars on the road. What do we think?
Well, we're going to Florida. You just mentioned the Miami Dolphins. Maybe they are going to go undefeated. I have them actually winning this game as well with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I actually think that Jacksonville is going to be one of the breakout teams this year. I'm a believer in the head coach, Liam Cohen. I'm a believer. I've been a believer for a long time. I've taken my lumps with Trevor Lawrence, but I do believe in the talent. I love the wide receiver combination that they now have. Brian Thomas Jr., to me, that was no rookie fluke. I think that he is legitimately a dynamic talent, and I know damn well that Travis Hunter is. And so that combination of those two guys, I think, is going to be the same type of a scary matchup that Chris just mentioned, basically, with Mike Evans posting up on Josh Jobe or whoever else. So I do think that this is going to be a scarier game, especially on the road. That's a long travel. But again, I just think that the talent, wins out. And so I have the Seahawks at this point 6-0. And then with their next game, of course, hosting the Houston Texans on Monday Night Football. Can you imagine how much excitement there would be for that game?
Chris, what do you think? Away at the Jaguars.
I think that they get this one. I think everything Rob is saying about the Jaguars is true. I think it's 1 year away. This is I think the last year to get the Jacksonville Jaguars, because I'm a T-Law believer too. I think that, especially now that he has a coach who I believe in as well, I think this is where we start to see the steps up. The Jaguars, I think, are going to be a good team that loses a lot of games as they kind of go through some growing pains with some of the young players. So the Seahawks get this win, but it's going to be another close one, and I am very excited to watch Travis Hunter play as much as possible.
I also have them winning this game. I need to see it first with Jacksonville and I need to see it with Trevor Lawrence before I kind of really, truly buy in. I don't doubt his talent, but I just think Mike Macdonald has, and this is one of I think the biggest differences in not this year's Seahawks, but the last couple years is I think he has the coaching edge in almost every game, to be completely honest. There's only a few cases. We'll get to that in just a second. There's only a few cases where that won't, I believe, be true. But and if all things are even, That's what I look to. So I believe the Seahawks pull this one out. At home against the Texans, as Rob said earlier, Monday Night Football. I think the Texans are going to bounce back this year and be probably the best team in the AFC South. We'll see what ends up happening, but I believe in their roster because I have seen it been done. Rob, what do you think? Is this their first loss?
I'm tempted to give them the first loss because I do think that, just historically, there's very, very few teams that start off this hot, especially teams that, all the national prognosticators are saying that Seattle's going to have, 7.5, 8.5 wins total. And so to be at this point, it just seems like, people are going to think I'm just wearing like the Mama Blue colored glasses.
Yeah, let's go.
But I think that they're going to win this game. I just think that the Monday Night Football, I think that the Seattle crowd is going to be extra jacked. I think that as you mentioned before, with the coaching experience, I think that Mike McDonald is a heck of a coach. And so I'm just really interested to see the team that's actually going to be able to mano beat Seattle or outcoach Seattle. So I think this is going to be another close game. I don't think that any of these games, with the possible exception of New Orleans Saints earlier, are really going to be kind of blowout type of games. But I think that Seattle is going to be able to kind of flex their running game and try to mitigate one of the better young defensive players in all the league, in my opinion, Will Anderson Jr. off the edge.
Love it. What do you think, Chris? Do they win this game?
I think that having dogs is a mistake. Sorry if you hear my dog barking in the background.
She's giving her prediction.
She is letting us know. She's not a big fan of squirrels or your take on those cream jerseys is what's happening right now. I think they do win this game, but I think it's going to be another really close game. And you're going to feel really good about the Seahawks after the bye or coming into the bye. I think that the home field advantage here. If this game was being played in Houston, I would go with Houston with the win. But I think that similar to a lot of their games where they are, similar in talent, a lot of those games are being played in Lumen Field this year. And I think that's why the Seahawks are going to get off to such a great start. They get the dub.
I also have them winning this one, mainly again, because I think the coaching difference. So I got them at 6-1. Chris has them at 5-1-1, and then Rob still has 7-0. Wow, 7-0 after that Monday Night Football game. There would be some crazy Seahawks fans, and maybe at that point they'll be thinking, you know what? Let's do the double. Let's do the World Series and the Super Bowl this year. Come on,
exactly.
Yeah. So I think the momentum in Seattle will be going big time. All right, I think probably the biggest test to this point in the season. November 2nd against the Washington Commanders on the East Coast, Sunday Night Football. What do you guys think?
Well, for me, I'll jump in here real quick. This is the one that scares me a little bit. Jaden Daniels just looked so darn dynamic a year ago. I think that there's a possibility that there's a little bit of a sophomore slump. I want to pick Seattle, but at the same time, it just feels like, and I don't have the numbers here in front of me. I don't know exactly how Seattle did a year. I wish I did. How they did come after their bye a year ago, how Pete Carroll and Mike Holmgren, et cetera, did off their byes. But thinking roughly over the years, it feels like Seattle has struggled coming off of a bye. I think a lot of NFL teams do. I think you kind of lose your mojo, when you've been playing so damn well. You just want to keep playing. And so I do have this as their first loss of the season. Again, I think it's going to be close, but I do think that that's going to be a difficult game to travel all the way to. And I just think that Washington is a really, really quality football team.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, so the reason why I was tempted to go with a dub here for Seattle is I was taking a look at Washington's schedule. They actually play at Kansas City the week before. And
letdown game.
Well, and the thing is, too, is it's a shorter week for them. I understand that they get a few extra hours because it's going to be a primetime game on NBC, the greatest network ever. They only employ the nicest people. I think this is a loss, though. I'm a huge believer in what Washington's doing right now, and asking a team to start 8-1-1 in my case is just asking for a little bit too much. So I think this is an L, and I'll say it's an L by 8 to 10 points.
this would be 6-1-1 if you
6-1-1. Sorry about that.
In 8 games, but yes.
Thanks.
I have them winning this game. I think what Rob said about Jaden Daniels, he's going to be this year's CJ Stroud, where he comes back down to earth a little bit. There was so much hype around him, and that is he the next big thing. And I don't think he's going to have a terrible year by any stretch of the imagination, but they're just going to put so much on his shoulders, and any sort of not even meeting those heights would be a disappointment for them. I really like Dan Quinn as a head coach. I still have some questions about that defense. I don't know how Deebo Samuel is going to fit in with everything. I don't know if he's going to be healthy. I like the direction they're going. This is one of those teams where I need to see it a little bit more before I truly buy in terms of, if I think they're really that type of team. And I think coming off the bye is actually going to do Seattle a lot of good, because at this point in the season, you start to get kind of banged up a little bit, especially with a couple of the players on Seattle's roster having some injury history, important players too. So this is going to be one of those where I think it comes at the perfect time. And it's a little reunion with Dan Quinn against the former Legion of Boom orchestrator, so to speak. So I think Mike Macdonald's eager to show himself that he's also on that same level of being a head coach. And I still think, honestly, I think Mike Macdonald has the coaching edge as well. So that's something where I think it's going to be a big difference. It's going to be a very close game, though. I think the Seahawks pull this one out. I have them at 7-1, along with Rob. Chris has them at 5-2-1. God, you're weird for putting a tie in there. We're going to come back and kind of do the second half of the schedule on the other side of the break here. We're predicting every single Seahawks result for the rest of the season, or for the whole season, I should say, here on the Seahawks Squad Show on Locked On Seahawks. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and what makes your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising.
Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards.
Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for helping us out. Welcome back to the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hurst, Nostradamus, and Rob Rang are joining you today. Really appreciate everyone who's hanging out with us. If you're in the stream, please like the video. If you haven't already, it does us a huge favor. We're going through the entire Seahawks schedule with our predictions for the season. I got them at 7-1. Krista has Nostradamus, I should say, has them at 5-2-1, and Rob Rang has them at 7-1 as well. So lots of intrigue at this point in the season. I think people are starting to buy in to what the Seahawks are doing. Coming off the Commanders game, it's back home against the Cardinals. Rob Rang, go ahead.
I think if they win, I mean, we had them beating, or at least I had them beating the Cardinals on the road in Glendale. I think if they are able to do that, I think they should feel very comfortable, very confident that they're going to be able to do the same thing in Lumen Field. It hasn't always worked that way, of course, especially with the Arizona Cardinals. But I think the Seattle is kind of rolling at this point. As we just talked about, Anders, that had Seattle losing that last game to Washington. I think you make some excellent points about why they might be able to beat the Commanders. I'm fascinated, just from a schematic standpoint, to see Mike Macdonald and his defense go up against Cliff Kingsbury and Washington's offense. So that to me is going to be a really interesting game in a lot of different ways. But again, going back to Arizona, I just think the Seattle is the better team. I think that they're going to be, frankly, a little bit pissed off that they may have lost the last week against Washington, and so they're going to pummel Arizona to kind of prove that they are the class of the NFC West division. Or at least
Okay. All right. Nostradamus, what do you think?
I think they win this game, and I think they win it by a lot, in part because, and Nostradamus does not like predicting injuries, but I don't think Kyler Murray's playing in that game. And it's based a little bit on history, and it's just based on a little bit that I do not like the offensive line that's going to be protecting Kyler Murray all that much this year. So I would have picked them to win even if I thought Murray was playing in this game, but I think the Seahawks roll in this one. One of the good old-fashioned home blowout wins that we used to see in the early aughts, or no, not aughts, the whatever we call the tens.
Early days.
The earlier days.
Yeah, the glory days, so to speak.
Yes.
I actually think they lose this game. Just kind of in the opposite way, like what we were talking about with letdown games with Washington. You get up and you prove yourself as one of the class of the NFC against one like a team that went to the NFC Championship game last year. I think there's a little bit of a letdown factor here. You almost a little overlooking, looking at the Rams in the following week. You come home to an Arizona team who I think is going to be better than a lot of people think. What you guys said about Trevor Lawrence, I think about Kyler Murray. I am a huge believer in him. I think it's got to happen sometime where he finally plays to his full potential. And I agree with you, Chris. The O-line is scary to me there. But I also believe in Jonathan Gannon. I think he's a really good coach. He gets those guys up, and they refuse. They're kind of a weird team, and this is one of those situations where they could totally catch you off guard, especially at home. I have the Seahawks losing this game. So Rob has them at 8-1. I have them at 7-2. Chris has them at 6-2-1 at this point. Let's go to the Rams away next week. The following week, I should say. We'll start with Chris this time. Nostradamus, Chris, what do you think?
This is where Seahawk fans start turning on Nostradamus Chris real quick, because just a spoiler alert, I'm not a huge fan of what the Seahawks are going to do in the second half based on what's happening in my head. I think this is a loss. Seattle's really struggled against the Rams on the road, but I also just think they're a pretty similar roster build, like in terms of talent. I'll take the home team advantage. There's a reason Vegas always gives the home team 3 points. I think those 3 points are enough, and the Seahawks take an L here.
All right, Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, I hate to agree with you, but this was a game that I thought that Seattle was going to struggle with just when the schedule came out, just because we knew, of course, they're going to be playing on all their division opponents, of course, on the road. Even when they were going up against the backups against the Rams a year ago to finish up the season, Seattle barely squeaked by with that victory. I think the Rams are just a really quality team. It remains to be seen, of course, if Matthew Stafford is going to be able to stay upright the entire time. I'll say this. I was fortunate enough to go to the LA Rams training camp, and I can tell you that Jared Verse and Braden Fisk are no joke. I mean, those two guys are just really, really game wreckers. And I just, until I see Seattle be able to just neutralize quality interior and exterior rushers on the same team, if they have, 2 or 3 different kind of a players, then I just don't know that they can do it. So, yeah, this is the game that I think that the LA Rams say, okay, wait a minute, Seahawks, cute start, but we are still the reigning divisional champs. And, we were only, from the Rams perspective, only a couple of plays really from being a legitimate Super Bowl contender a year ago. So, everything is going to change, of course, if Matthew Stafford isn't out there, although Jimmy Garoppolo was pretty damn impressive in person as well, throwing to Devontae Adams, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, to me, what it comes down to is the line of scrimmage. That's what football always comes down to for me. It's kind of like baseball or pitching. And the line of scrimmage, I still think that the Rams defensive line might be able to create enough pressure on Sam Darnold that we see some of those flashes of the Sam Darnold that has Seahawks fans so scared, the guy that played against, in those against the Rams and against, who was it, Detroit to wrap up last season.
Yeah, I see what you guys are saying. I have this as a loss as well. I have them losing 2 divisional games in a row. So I think this is almost a reset point of the season. Like, okay, we had that super hot start. All right, we got to kind of reset ourselves and just kind of reestablish things a little bit. For me, this is probably one of the first and only times I think we don't have the coaching advantage. Sean McVay is he's that guy. He just has Seattle's number. He just continues to just churn out results and results and results. And while I actually still believe the Seahawks roster is comparable to the Rams,
sure,
at least comparable. And I believe in the trend. The Seahawks is more up than the Rams are. I think the Rams have kind of been there and then maybe slight downturn. the Rams are going to be like, no. Like kind of Rob said, this is our division to lose at this point. So I think that's what happens, especially on the road. And then the Seahawks have to reset. So I have them at 7-3. Chris has 6-3-1. Rob is 8-2. Well, away at the Titans and number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward. Nostradamus, Chris, what do you got?
Here's where Nostradamus Chris goes pretty off the board in a lot of ways. Here's my prediction. The Tennessee Titans are going to enter that game without a win. The Seattle Seahawks are going to enter that game as about 12-point favorites. And the Seattle Seahawks are going to lose that game. The Seattle Seahawks have one of these every single year. And you know why they have them? Because it's freaking football. And anyone can beat anyone in the NFL one time, right? It happens. You have one game that you're supposed to mollywop your opponents, and it just doesn't work out. This is going to be the New York Giants loss of last year, the one that we look at and say, oh my gosh, what if they had won that game? This is the one. The Seahawks lose to the Tennessee Titans. Cam Ward gets his first victory in the NFL against the Seattle Seahawks.
All right, Rob, please tell me you're not predicting that same thing.
I am not. I think it's an awful gutsy pick. I could see it, though. I mean, Cam Ward is a talented passer. He's got some trick shot artists to him that I think can keep the game close. I just think that, again, I don't think that you're going to see back-to-back losses very often from this club. And because we're anticipating a loss to the Rams a week earlier, I think it's kind of, hell, go to Graceland or something. Reunite the team again in Nashville. And I think that they are able to escape Tennessee with a fairly comfortable victory.
Yep, I have also them winning this game mainly because they're coming off 2 straight losses for me against the division. Mike McDonald's going to reset and be like, guys, no, we're done. Let's go. We're a better team than this. And I think it's a blowout. In fact, I go the opposite direction of Chris. I totally don't discredit your pick. I could see that happening. But in terms of my reality, my Nostradamus Anders, I'm seeing it as like they lay the hammer down against the Titans team, who, yes, I believe also will struggle this year. I don't discredit Cam Ward in terms of what he can do, but I still think the Seahawks have a much better roster. That takes us to at home against the Minnesota Vikings. Rob Rang, let's go with you first this time.
This is a fun one. I've had so many incredible opportunities to go to Seahawks games. My family has owned season tickets literally my entire life, and I very rarely go. If I do go, then I'm usually, with you gentlemen in the press box or something of that nature. I've actually bought the tickets from my brother because he won't just give them to me. And that's how kind of
that works, right?
But I'm excited to go this one because I think this is a potential kind of an NFC Championship game preview kind of stuff. I'm a big believer in the Seahawks, obviously, and I'm a big believer in the Minnesota Vikings as well. I think that J.J. McCarthy is for real. I believe in him and Kevin O'Connell's offense. I believe in Sam Darnold as well. So I think that this, to me, it's one of the more fascinating matchups just because Sam Darnold obviously wants that revenge against the Vikings. And I just like the contrast in styles of these two teams.
Oh, me. Yeah. The Seattle Seahawks win this game. I agree with everything you're saying there, Rob. I am also a JJ McCarthy believer, as much as it breaks my heart as a Husky fan to say that. I do think he's a year away. And I think Minnesota might be a team that is kind of fortunate to have a higher draft pick for 2026 because they add a really, really good piece to that team. And then they're Super Bowl contenders next year. I think it might be a 1 year away though. So I'll go with the Seahawks to get a 9-point victory in this one and get my losing streak over with.
And Molly is not happy with that pick.
That's Minnie. She's really upset about it.
Yeah. She's a JJ McCarthy fan.
Huge.
I completely disagree with you. I am not a JJ McCarthy fan, mainly just because I haven't seen it. I just think he was severely overpicked. Now, if anyone's going to succeed, it's going to be in that system. As we saw last year with Sam Darnold, with that coach, with that receiving core, with that offensive line, there's a lot of things to like about everything around him. So I think you could have, I'm not saying he is a Brock Purdy, but you could have a Brock Purdy situation where like everything around him makes him that much better. I have to see it first before I really truly believe it. I just think every other quarterback that was picked in that class, loaded class, I would pick over him pretty significantly. But I do believe in the Vikings roster big time, and I believe in their coach. This is one of those. Kevin McConnell is, in my opinion, the Mike McDonald of offense. They are so similar in so many ways. Both young guys, both kind of gurus of their own side of the ball. I see a revenge factor for this Seahawks game, not just for Sam Darnold going back to or playing against his old team, but from last year. Because last year's Vikings game, the Seahawks should have won that game. Period. End of story. I was there. God, it was frustrating to watch. I think Mike McDonald, that was one of the times where I felt like he was about to just scream in Ryan Grubb's face after the play calling in the second half of that game. I really think he's going to be like, no, we're a better team than this. We're a better team than the Vikings. I believe we're there. So I have them at 9-3. Chris has them at 7-4-1. And then Rob has them at 10-2 at this point in the season. Then the Seahawks go on the road to the Falcons, December 7th, 2025. What do you got, Rob Ray?
I do think that Seattle is going to be able to beat Atlanta. I think it's fascinating. We just talked about kind of the rivalry game between J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold. I love the fact that Seattle is going up against Cam Ward, former Coug, and then Michael Penix Jr., of course, here as well. I just don't think that Atlanta's got the horses. I mean, they've got a dynamic offense, and I am a huge fan. I actually argued on the Locked On Seahawks podcast with Corbin Smith that I thought that Seattle should have been very much considering Raheem Morris, who of course was the Los Angeles Rams defensive coordinator before Atlanta hired him as head coach. Look, I love Mike McDonald, but I think Raheem Morris is one of those up and coming head coach guys as well, just because of his defensive ability. At the same time, I just think that Seattle's a better football team. I think Atlanta's on the upswing, but with Penix's he can struggle when he's got a little bit of color in his face. I think that Seattle's going to be able to control the line of scrimmage in that football game.
All right, Nostradamus, Chris, what do you think? Atlanta.
I think this is a loss, and part of that is because I think Atlanta is going to kind of roll in this division, and the momentum that is going to be built with this team, I think, is going to be something that'll kind of helps them get this W. I am a massive Michael Penix Jr. fan. I have been since he was at Indiana. I love that skill set, and I just kind of love that mental acumen that he has. And yeah, as Rob points out, that if he does get pressured, there can be issues. It's what Oregon tried to do. They failed. Oregon failed. Do you hear that? Oregon failed to beat Michael Penix Jr. But I think this is a tough matchup. I do not think the Seahawks are going to be very good on the road in the second half. And just being honest with you, part of that is going to be, I don't love the depth of the Seahawk team. I think there's some really good players, but as you start to get to your second team players, guys who were projected to be not even on your roster are going to be having to play in this type of game. And I just don't love the depth that they've accumulated. So I think they're going to struggle in road games like this.
I also have this as a loss because I am not JJ McCarthy fan. I am the opposite from Michael Penix. I just believe his skill set matches so well. And this is really kind of his rookie year. He kind of I think it was almost a perfect situation for him where he was able to kind of ramp it up without many expectations going in halfway through the season last year. And I totally agree with you too, Rob. I love Raheem Morris as a coach. I think he's a great fit for that roster. I also think they're going to be the best team in that division by a pretty significant margin. I know you got Tampa Bay with a lot of weapons too, but I think they're going to take a slight step back this year. And I think Atlanta's going to be one of the surprise teams at the NFC, to be honest. And I have them winning this game. The Falcons, have them winning this game. All right, Colts at home the following week. Rob Rang, what do you got?
Well, again, I think you guys make excellent points about Atlanta. And I think we have to mention the name Bijan Robinson because he might be the best player on the field for both of those two teams. And again, the same reason why I have concerns about Seattle stopping, say, Christian McCaffrey in week one, I definitely have them having those concerns against Bijan Robinson. Yep. But to your guys' point about the concerns about depth with Seattle, I have significant concerns about Atlanta's depth. So I think that they're going to beat the Falcons. I think they're going to come home. I think the Indianapolis Colts are one of the least talented teams in the NFL. I think that Daniel Jones is going to have a decent little bounce back season. I actually think that he fits in pretty nicely with what they're doing there. I think that Seattle is a better football team, so I have Seattle winning comfortably against Indianapolis. And frankly, against the Indianapolis Colts.
Okay. What do you think, Chris?
Blowout win. I think Indianapolis is terrible. Similar to, if God help us all, if they lose to the Saints at home, it's pretty darn close for Indianapolis as well. Just a game that you should be winning by, and I don't even know who it might be. Riley flipping Leonard at quarterback at that point for the Indianapolis Colts. This should be a bloodbath.
Totally agree. I don't think there's much for me to say other than there's not really anything that points me towards a Seahawks loss in this situation. They're at home. In my eyes, coming off a loss against an inferior team, against an inferior coach, and you're probably in a playoff battle, and I don't think they will be. So I just don't see any reason for the Seahawks to lose this game, which means they probably will. Okay, so looking at next week, Rams at home. I believe that's either a Thursday.
That is
game. Yes.
I think that's a to be determined game. Oh no, the last two are
Thursday night. Yeah, it's Thursday night football against the Rams at home, and I believe that's when you're wearing your new jerseys. By the way, so that'll be fun. What do you think, Rob Ring?
Yeah, and so another reason why I think the Seahawks fans are not going to like those new jerseys, because as you said, it's a Thursday night game. The Colts, while they may lack talent, I think they're going to run the football more than most. I think that the physicality of that team is going to have the Seahawks kind of wearing down. Remember, it's going to be almost 2 months since their bye week. I think there's going to be a physically hurting kind of a team. And so I said before, I think the Los Angeles Rams are the best in the division along the line of scrimmage. And I think that rears its ugly head again. I have the Seahawks, losing their third game of the season, but again, losing both games against the Los Angeles Rams, and have Seahawks fans fretting a little bit as the season comes to an end.
Okay, so did I do some wrong math? Because I have you 11-4 at that point.
Then I had the losses against the Rams earlier and against Washington Commanders.
Okay, but you have them winning all the other ones. Okay, that's my fault then. I had the wrong one. So you're at 12-3 at this point.
12-3, yes.
Okay, great. Chris, what do you think?
Do you like field goals? Because I think this is going to be the game where you see a lot of kicks, in part because of what you mentioned, Rob, about the fact that, I think that Colts team is going to be committed to the run. By the way, DJ Giddens, if you're a fantasy football player, somebody you might want to take a look at, because I think he might be a guy who can contribute a little bit this year. I think they win. I think the Seahawks end up going 4-2 in the division. They split with everybody, and they get the one sweep against Arizona. So they don't, obviously, with everybody, but I do think they go 4-2 in the division. They get this win. It is a nail biter. Everyone calls it one of the worst games of the year.
I actually could totally see that happening. I also see them winning this game. I think there's going to be a little revenge factor from the loss earlier in the year. I also think at this point in the year, you're going to be kind of jostling for division winners / seeding / wild cards and all that. So I think that's going to be play a big part of it. I just think, at this point in the year, knowing that you have the Panthers and then the Niners right after that, this is going to be probably, because I don't see the Niners being a factor in terms of the playoffs. I think this will be the most important game of the year, the third to last game against the Los Angeles Rams. So that's why I think they're going to get up for it, and they have to get that dub. So Chris, I believe you have them at 9-5-1. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, and then I have them at 11-4. Rob has them at 12-3. Going away to the Panthers. What do we think, Rob Ring?
I think that they beat the Panthers. Again, I have them losing, as I mentioned before, with the Los Angeles Rams. I don't think that you're going to see Seattle have multiple losses, in a row. And so I think that they bounce back, even though it's a road game. It's concerning when you're going all the way across the country to a Carolina Panthers team that I think is on the upswing, guys. I'm a big believer in Bryce Young as well. Dave Canales is head coach. But at the same time, I think that they get that victory.
Okay. Chris, what do you think?
This is going to be a close one. The Carolina Panthers, And this is one of them where I wish I could make the prediction, but Nostradamus is he's no fool. He knows that he has to give predictions on August 28th. I'd really like to see how the Panthers are playing in mid-September or even early October, because the improvements Bryce Young showed in the second half, I think, are some of the more underrated improvements that we saw from a quarterback who showed an awful lot of talent in Alabama as well. It's not like he completely came out of nowhere. He looked really rough at the start of last year, at the end of last year, or at the end of his rookie year, excuse me. But I think they get the win. I think this is kind of the one game where I feel confident of them getting a road win. I don't feel confident in very many of them in the second half of the year, as I said, but I do think they pull this one out. It's another squeaker, though, and I could see this one being a little bit higher scoring. I could see a kind of a 38-35 type of game, and that would be a lot of fun for everybody.
I have a weird feeling they lose this game, guys.
Fair.
I really do. I think that's going to be a scrappy Panthers team that's probably sitting at like 7-8 at that point, or maybe even 6-9, just like whatever, has some long shot at the playoffs still. If they continue, and I agree with you. I think Bryce Young really showed he's not a bust, at least not yet. So I really think that he's going to take some more strides this year. I like Ted McMillan being able to.
He's going to be a problem. That guy is going to be a problem, because if you watched it, Rob, you watched it last year. Noah Fafita was not very good last year, and he still put up some monster numbers, even with quarterback play that was less than standard. That guy can really play football. And also, Jatavion Sanders has always been a favorite of mine as well. I think he might have a breakout year for this team as well. So yeah, it's going to be a close one.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna call it. I think they're gonna lose that game. Back on the road against the 49ers in the final week of the season. So you play the 49ers first game of the season and the last week of the season, this time on the road. Nostradamus, we'll start with you.
It's a loss. And it's going to be one that is going to probably eliminate them from playoff contention for me. And I don't like it. And I have so much confidence in this team in the next couple of years, in 2026 and 2027. I love what they're building. I just don't know if they're there yet. And they lose this game to fall to 9-7-1. My tie is what ends up taking them from not making the postseason.
I have you at 10-6-1. Did I miss something?
No, I was at 9-6-1, and then this loss here should be 9-7-1.
Oh, okay. I had it at 10-5-1 before that. That's all right. I messed one up, but okay.
Right.
9-7-1 for Chris Crawford. Rob, what do you think? Final week against the 49ers.
Well, I'm not sure about the math, but I do think that the Seahawks wind up actually losing this game as well. I think it's going to be similar to the Los Angeles Rams a year ago, that it's just not as meaningful of a game to them. And so I don't know if they play their starters. I think if they are the divisional champions at this point, although, again, as I mentioned before, I had them losing both the games, Los Angeles Rams. I think that the Rams are going to lose some other games. And so that's why I think that Seattle basically rests their starters. San Francisco might be fighting and scratching for a playoff opportunity, as you guys talked about just a moment ago with Carolina. So I do have them losing this game, finishing the regular season 13-4 as NFC West divisional champs. And then who knows what happens after that.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, though, if 3 of those 4 losses are against the NFC West, right? Mm-hmm. As you pointed out, because you got 2 against the Rams, 1 against the 49ers here. So that's pretty nuts. That would be an interesting little play there. You must have a lot of faith in the NFC West if you think that this Seahawks team, if they win 13 games, they're still going to lose 3 times to the division. So I have them winning this game. I have said it before. I think the Niners are going to fall off big time this year. Injuries, whether it's just not having a lot on the wide receiving core. They didn't sign Marquez Valdes-Scantling because they want to see Seahawks playbook. They signed him because they need wide receivers. That tells me something in terms of the depth, because we feel iffy about our wide receiver depth, but we felt good enough to drop that guy, and they needed him. So that tells you one thing. I think this defense is going to take a pretty significant step back as well for the 49ers, and they might be last in the NFC West for me. I have the Seattle at 12-5 and winning the division. So really quick, let's go through the rest of our divisional champions, and then maybe a Super Bowl champion if you feel so inclined. Chris Crawford, we'll start with you with the rest of the NFC.
The rest of the NFC, I got the Eagles winning the NFC East. I have the Detroit Lions winning the NFC North. It's going to be really close, though, with the Packers. And I have the Atlanta Falcons winning the NFC South. My Super Bowl prediction for the NFC is that the Philadelphia Eagles will repeat, and I know it's boring.
That is
boring.
boring.
I think they will play the Buffalo Bills, and the Buffalo Bills finally get their Super Bowl win.
There you go. All right, Rob, what do you think?
Exciting stuff. NFC, as I mentioned before, Seattle, NFC West, Green Bay, NFC North, Tampa Bay, NFC South, Philadelphia Eagles, NFC East, and then Kansas City in the AFC West, Baltimore, AFC East, Jacksonville, AFC South. That's my kind of surprise one. And then Buffalo in the AFC East. I think it's going to be Baltimore and the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. I have Baltimore Ravens winning the Super Bowl.
Baltimore Ravens. I like that. I like that a lot. I got the Eagles in the East. I got the Seahawks in the West. I got the Packers in the North and the Falcons in the South. I think the Bills win the AFC East. I got the Broncos in the AFC West. I think they take another step forward this year. AFC North, I believe the Bengals will win the AFC North. And then I believe the Texans will win the AFC South. Super Bowl between the Bengals and I haven't really thought about this, so I'm going to say the Packers, and I think the Packers win the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jordan Love's Super Bowl champion just sounds weird.
It does sound weird, but Micah Parsons, Super Bowl champion.
He's really good.
Can
I give my AFC real quick?
Get him in there. Get him in there.
Bills. And then I got the Ravens, and then I will say that the Texans win a pillow fight in the AFC South, and I'll go with the Chiefs. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's a little chalky, but that's what I'll go with.
All right, and remind us what we had in the Super Bowl.
Bills versus Eagles with the Bills winning.
Okay. I like it. I like that. Let's get the Bills their Super Bowl. I don't mind that whatsoever. All right. That does it for today's show. I like just kind of going through these. We had Nostradamus make his full show appearance today. We have one more weekend, gentlemen, without NFL football. One more weekend. 1 week from today will be opening day. Cowboys versus Eagles. I cannot wait. We'll have one episode for you guys early next week, and then the second episode of each week will be a post-game show here on the Seahawks Squad Show. Really appreciate everyone who joined us today. Please like the video if you haven't already. Throw in your predictions if you want in the comments or in the live chat there while you're still here. I'm excited to do this with you guys this season. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's have a good season. Okay. I think we all can predict at least decently good things for the Seahawks this year. I cannot wait for the season to start. So really appreciate you guys. Check out more of Corbin and Rob's work on Locked On Seahawks. If you haven't already, they have tons of good stuff here. Both on podcast format and YouTube format. So we'll talk to you guys early next week. Really appreciate it here on the Seahawks Squad Show on Locked On Seahawks.
Notre Dame 63, Miami 3.